Hello. You are tuned into Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady Rochelle, where we move away from awareness towards action. Testimonial Monday. You can tune in to me. You can go to IntellectualRadio.com. You can go to YouTube. We are streaming live and just type in at Warriors Talk with the number one. Linwood, Illinois. She can be reached at 708-758-3300, and she specializes in all of your insurance needs. Is perhaps we should love ourselves so fiercely that when others see us, they know exactly how it should be done. Our topic for tonight is one eye witness, breaking the silence after domestic violence. Thank you to everybody that's tuning in on Facebook. Please like and share the video. Invite others in on the video tonight. So many people are going to be helped. So many people are suffering in silence, and we want to make sure that we are breaking the cycle on tonight. So we're talking about domestic violence. And alarming stats indicates that as I'm reading this short sentence, a woman has been assaulted already. Every 9 seconds, a woman is being assaulted. According to Partnership Against Domestic Violence, they say that every 9 seconds, a woman is being beaten. So the statistics are sobering, but the reality of it is that 1 in 4 women in the U.S. experience domestic violence from their intimate partner. It says female victims they experienced a first domestic violence between the ages of 18 and 24. That's pretty young. 85% of domestic violence victims are, guess what? Women.
Yes.
85%. That's a high number. Well, I have a special guest on today. She is a domestic violence survivor. She's a celebrated author, and she's going to be sharing a bit of her book with us because we want you to get the book. We want you to go to Amazon and get the book. We want you to go to www.oneeyewitness.com and get the book. She's talking about one eyewitness breaking the silence after domestic violence. And she is a mother of 5, a grandmother, a speaker, an advocate, a domestic violence voice. She is a survivor of a near fatal domestic violence incident by the hands of someone she loved. And supposedly loved her, right?
Absolutely.
So through her story, she hopes to raise awareness about different types of domestic violence. And ultimately, she wants to help save the victims who are not able or feel like they're not able to get out. So welcome to Warriors Talk, survivor and author, Yolanda Carter.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Lady Rochelle, for allowing me the opportunity to be here on your show, Warriors Talk. Domestic violence is a very, very sensitive topic, and also it's a touching situation. It's something that we really need to have conversations at all times. A lot of times people don't want to talk about it because it's embarrassing. Sometimes it's like an elephant in the room no one wants to talk about. It's just always swept up under the rug, but your life can change within a blink of an eye. And a lot of times we feel as though that, oh, we with someone, we love them, we don't want nobody to know what we're going through because of the embarrassment, the shame, the guilt, and just not knowing how to get out of a bad situation. A lot of times people ask, why do you stay in those bad type of situations? A lot of times we don't know. And sometimes it's like the fear of the unknown, the fear of not having that person in our lives anymore, the fear of not, having, you have your children and you don't know how to move past. And maybe they go be with someone else, and the person that you want them to be may be that Prince Charming to someone else.
Wow.
So it's a lot of times we stay in the fear of the unknown and multiple reasons. So my situation, like I said, she said, I'm a mother of 5 and I have 9 grandchildren. And my life was very great. I grew up in a well-rounded family. We all got along. There was I never seen any type of physical or mental, verbal, any type of abuse going on in my household as I was growing up. Never even heard my parents even argue. So that was like foreign to me when I got to becoming, a teenager and ready to start dating, and abuse started. My first encounter of domestic abuse, it wasn't called domestic violence at that time. It was called maybe like lover's quarrel or something like that, to that nature. And it was my children. They were young and they didn't really know what was going on, but my oldest daughter did. And she told me, well, I can remember the times when mama, a few instances happened and everything. And I thought that, I love this person, but I was afraid. I was afraid. Even if a person look at me like in a way that you'd be like, oh my God, I don't want to say nothing. I don't want to do nothing. It was just, you just feel like you stuck in a bad situation. And I started hating myself. I didn't want to even just move. And I was trying to call myself leaving. The person would come back and find you. So it was a lot that you have to go through when you are in that type of situation. But when you get older, you start saying, well, you know what? I'm not going to let nobody do this to me. A lot of times women, we are women. And not only women goes through domestic violence, there are men that they are victims as well. So, I want to also piggyback. I also want to talk about something that we don't never even talk about. We need to talk about not only the victims, we need to talk about the perpetrators. Now, when I say the perpetrators, let's talk about the perpetrators. I want to be real. I want to be transparent because I feel like sometimes I have to dummy down my story or make it sound like tell my truth because of what people may say. And I start thinking about, why am I worried about what somebody will say? Because what I'm trying to do is help someone else that may be having thinking the same thing that I'm thinking. Like, if it wasn't for a perpetrator, there wouldn't be a victim.
But some people may look at you like, why are you worried about the perpetrator? The perpetrator is what caused the harm.
Absolutely.
But
And that's what
and
I was ready
what
for.
would you say to that?
Because I wanted to say, because they need help. And I feel that before they became a perpetrator, they were that knight in shining armor, that, Prince Charming that you had. He was the person that would nurse you back to health when you sick. I mean, do all the great things that you desire. He would treat you like a queen. And he
So
was that person before. So what makes him not, become a monster at that point? Because we want to know what has happened. What made them turn to be that type of person? We want to nail everyone to the cross for every bad thing that they do. Okay, what if I'm a woman and I became a perpetrator? Am I going to get the same reaction from me being a woman than them being a man? So it was really bothering me because I felt like I want to talk about these situations because, first of all, these men are a brother, a uncle, a cousin, just like the victim, and not saying that I'm taking up for a perpetrator or anything, but we have to be honest. We have to think about there are, when a victim lose, a perpetrator family loses as well. And I want people to know that we need to try to figure out a way for them to get help. With putting them away in the in prison, yeah, they need to be put away, but at the same token, they need help as well.
so do you think most programs are set up just to cater to the women
Yes.
and not the men?
Basically, they are, because it's geared towards the women, the victims, not the men, because they a perpetrator and they feel like you're a perpetrator. You let's nail them to the cross. They don't, maybe, they don't really know what's going on, what caused them to lead up to that point, what made them, what triggered them to make them become that monster or that perpetrator that they have become. It is so important for us to really realize that this can happen to any one of us. It's not just me, it's not just you. It can happen to anyone. And there's no age, no color, nor gender, or anything, ethnicity. It can happen. And while we always say, well, I'm not going to let no one do this to me, sometimes it just happens. And without you even knowing, I couldn't tell you that. I used to say that myself. Oh, I wonder why men and women let men beat up on them. But it doesn't just work like that. It happens so quickly before you even realize it's already done and it's over with. And then we start thinking like, okay, that's when they start the honeymoon phase. Oh, I'm sorry, baby, I won't do it again. We hear that all the time. And of course, what we're going to say, okay, baby, let me give him another chance because I didn't think he really meant that. And I kept feeling like, man, with this instance of my episode that just recently happened, I kept saying, this wasn't him. This wasn't him. But I don't want to give no mixed signal and say, well, it wasn't him. It wasn't his character. That's what I want to say. It was him, but it was not the character that he portrayed in the years that I was with him. He was a great guy. I would never, say that he wasn't, because he is. I have to be transparent. I have to be honest. And I felt like I couldn't tell my truth because of what people may say, like, oh, the monster, he's a monster. You shouldn't say that about him because he's a bad person. And I didn't feel like what people were saying, and it kept bothering me. And I said, no, I have to tell the truth. And that's what we do. We want to be, I want to be transparent. I want to be honest because I know that someone else may be, wondering the same, thinking the same thing I was thinking.
So are we pinning the women against the men, or are we trying to help both? Because I feel like both are victims. Both are going through, like you said, both are losing out, because if the
Absolutely.
man gets charged with domestic violence and that's on your record,
Hmm.
when you go for a job, people are looking at that. They're not going to
Yes.
want you around because they're going to think you have a problem not controlling yourself, not being disciplined. So
Yourself.
I
Hmm.
agree with you where we have to
Absolutely.
help both victims. How do we stop domestic violence
Absolutely.
if we're just catering to the ladies, to the women?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that was the thing that I kept, it had to be something really bothering me. It had to be something serious because I said, I didn't want to ruffle no feathers. I didn't want to say the wrong things. I had to think about it first before I even, wanted to say it, because I was like, man. But then I started thinking about, I said it had to been, it needs to be out. It
Speak your
needs,
truth.
you have to speak
Speak
your
your
truth.
truth.
And that's my truth.
And because you're not helping anybody if you don't, because they're not going to know the reality of domestic violence. So you had this guy, and he was a charmer. He was a
Yes.
prince charming.
Yes,
He
he
opened the
was.
doors. He put money in your
Yes.
pocket.
Yes.
He catered to you when you
Yes,
were
he
sick.
did.
Those are
Yes.
all things that women love.
Yes.
So, okay, he wasn't a bad guy. And then all of a sudden, something goes wrong.
Right.
And then everybody wants you to say, oh, this is a monster. This
Yes.
monster did that to me.
Yes. And that's what I was facing, because I remember people was like, don't tell nobody that. That's not a good thing. You don't tell, because you may be telling the young people the wrong thing and they'll go back to their abuser. But no, I don't want to mislead anyone. I'm not misleading anyone. I don't want to tell no one no misinformation. I'm just telling you what I feel and what I know is right. And just to be honest, and we all need to be honest with ourselves, because
Mm.
it's just being truthful. And a lot of times we may say, no, I didn't do this. And sometimes I will wonder, what did I do to make this situation happen? But I know that we self blame ourselves. So I'm going to go into my story. And this may be a little bit hard for someone to listen to, but I thank God that I'm here today. I have overcome the situation. And yes, it is very touchy for me as well. But at the same token, I am here to share the story. So,
Tell them how you got the name of the book before you get
okay,
started.
the name of the book is called One Eyewitness, and that's ONEEYEWITNESS.com. So the reason why the book is named One Eyewitness is that I was left one eye, and my son was my only eyewitness. And that's how we came up with the name One Eyewitness. So early March 22nd, 2016. It was like a regular day. No one could ever think that anything or anything could ever happen. But prior to the incident, like I said, this man was very, very charming. He was a great guy. Yes, there was a little writing on the wall because a lot of times we say, well, we didn't see the signs because if we didn't see the signs, if we don't know the signs, we don't know what to look forward to.
So you
So
saw red flags. You just didn't know.
I
Oh, okay.
did.
That's not normal.
Right. I seen some red flags, but the red flags that I seen, I thought they were normal things like arguing, people not talking to you days at a time. He threw my phone down the alley one time. He threw a little alcohol on me, but it wasn't something that he physically touched me. So it didn't seem like I was in an abusive relationship because I'm thinking that, okay, these are the things that we all do. We all go through these things like, okay, well, I mean, he may not talk to you days at a time. Okay, well, you're not talking to me. I'm not talking to you either. So that's just what was my outlook on it. It wasn't.
Looking back on it, would you say it was psychological manipulation?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, it was because I did not know I didn't know anything about manipulation. I was being manipulated. I remember him telling me, baby, go on, quit your job. I got you. Don't worry about it. And I end up doing it. And I started feeling like, you know what? I'm not living my fullest potential. I'm letting him, control me with him just always giving me money, always giving me. And I started feeling like, you know what? You need to do something with yourself. I was working, of course, but it was like if he say don't work, I won't have to work. I won't go. Instead of me saying, you know what, no, I'm gonna go ahead and work. I'm gonna do what I gotta do and still make things happen for me. Cause just in case he decide that he wanna go or whatever, I could still maintain, which I was still gonna maintain anyway, because that's just who I am. But at the same token, I was being manipulated because he said, you know what, go and quit your job. I quit my job. And then he was like, you know what, you ain't got, because I was already working another job. I was taking my son to school and then I would go to my second job. So I was like, okay, if I quit my job, I don't have to get up and go to work or go punch nobody clock early in the morning. I could just lay here for about maybe an extra hour. But then he said, you know what, since you quit your job, you could just go ahead and take me to work, and that money that I use for my bus fare, you could use that and put that in your pocket. And I'm like, nah, man.
Sweet deal, huh?
Yes. And then a little did I know, that's when I was like, okay, I agreed to it. But then I didn't know that when I agreed to it, I would have to take him to work. I would have to pick him up. I would have to pick my sons from school, take him to school,
So you
go
was
take my son.
working.
So I was
You was
working.
working.
And then didn't know that that was like a sense of manipulation because he
Yes.
know my every whereabout. He know that I got to go to pick him up. He know I got to pick my son up. He know I got to. So if somebody said, Yolanda, come on, let's hang out, I can't do it because I'm already obligated to do what I did and didn't know that was I was being manipulated
A
at the
form of
time.
isolation.
In isolation, absolutely. So I remember that he would always tell me, I love you. You all I have. And I can remember one day, and he was like, I said, oh no, that's scary.
Mm.
Because that's very scary when somebody tell you that, oh, you all I have, and I was like, no. So it just was like some things had started going on, and I can remember I put him out maybe like around 3 times because of disrespect. I remember one day he disrespected my boys. He called
Okay, let
them.
me ask you this. Do you think that disrespect is a form of domestic violence? Like that plays a role
Yes, it
in them
does.
disrespecting you?
Yes, it does because it becomes when you start belittling someone, when you start calling them the B word. Those are tactics of domestic abuse, and and so many people don't realize the physical. You can cover up those physical scars, but those emotional scars emotional and mental scars that you have embedded, those will last you for a lifetime. Those hurt the most. Because I can remember when he called me the B word, and it wasn't just like you be, it was like it rolled off the tongue. And that just like it hurt me. Like, man, he could have just punched me in my face. But I felt like, man, okay, that was one time. And then it just became to be like something regular to him. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put him out.
So it was a
And
cycle. It was a cycle of abuse.
it was a cycle of abuse, but it wasn't physical. So I still was like, okay, that wasn't enough for me. Okay, well, it was to me, it wasn't that bad, but it is bad.
Did you know about verbal abuse at that time?
I,
Or did you just think abuse is physical?
I
If
thought
he's
it
not
was
hitting me,
physical.
then it's not abuse.
Absolutely. And that's what I didn't know. Because earlier, when like I said, when we go back down when I was younger, it was not called domestic violence, it was called lovers co, I believe. I was only 18, 19 years old. So I was being physically abused then. So I was looking for it to be the same thing. Like, okay, well, I didn't know about the mental, emotional, and verbal abuse. I'm just thinking that
Financial.
people gonna say what they see financial as well. So I'm like, okay, people gonna say what they're gonna say, and that's it. I didn't think that was a form of abuse, but it was. And when he called me that B word, that really showed me like, oh my God, that really tore me up on the inside. But it was just a lot of little things. So those little things that we don't pay attention to because we cover it up. We don't want no one to know about it. Because first of all, it's embarrassing to tell somebody, oh, he cussing me out, he doing this, he doing that. You don't want people to know about it. So you just don't even say it. It's just like nothing. I mean, I just let it roll off my shoulder and stuff like that. And then just it was times when I know that days pass when a person don't talk to you. But then when it's time to talk back, I never initiated because I get stubborn too. You don't want to talk to me, I'm not gonna talk to you. So it's like, whew, we blowing each other like we dust around here. But it was always a time when you come back to talking and nobody apologized. It just go back to when it just like it never happened. And it was doing that a little bit more regular than it normally would do. So I just didn't know that I was in an abusive relationship because, like I said, I didn't think because it was not physical.
When was the first time you knew something's not right?
The first time I really knew something was not right was this happened one day, and I can remember it was an old boyfriend that I was dating because he ended up calling my ex-boyfriend and telling him that I somebody was in my house, which I know that was not even true. So he started calling me all these names, these B words, and I wish you would die, all kind of stuff. And then I mean, he was calling me back to back. He would hang up, call back to back, and I was like, something ain't right with him. But then I still, after a while, I stopped talking to him like maybe like 3 months, 4 months, and then of course he come back around. He always wanna drop money. Like they say, money is the root of all evil, guys. And not saying I was thirsty or nothing, but what woman don't want a man to give them money, give them, and that's what he did. He gave me, he was like, he fed me money all the time. So of course I'm aggressive, I ain't take it. Cause I mean, it's not the right thing to do, but at the same token, that's what I did. Allow him to woo me back in with the gifts. And that's one thing we have to pay attention to, those gifts. We have to look at the fact that, they will groom us. And when we being groomed, we we don't know it, but they're grooming us so we can gain their trust. So that way we can they can, get us where they want us to be. And it was so much, so many things that happened within the relationship. It was some great things, but it was also not so great things. And that was one of the times when I realized that something was not right, but I still just dust myself off, try it again. I'm like, okay, he ain't that bad. And it was many times when I said, you know what, I'm done with him. I'm truly done. But then I was like, you know what, it ain't that bad because he's not putting his hands on me. I'm just start, I just I just hated the fact that I kept doing it. And I think that God was showing me every time it would get worse and worse. And he was showing, I'm telling you, this is you need to
Were you
get this
asking
man.
God? Were you talking to God saying, God, show me a sign? And then he would show you a sign and you would ignore it? Because we women, we do that.
And I didn't because I just thought that leaning on my own understanding, I did. And but I remember one of my line dance sisters told me, Yogi, you need to be careful. Because I was on the phone with her one day and he was arguing with me about me going line dancing or whatever the case may be. And she was like, he's serious. You need to be careful. I'm like, girl, he ain't gonna do nothing to me. He loved me. And that's what one thing we do. We always say, oh, they love us and he's not gonna do nothing to me. Girl, he just wants some attention. And we just always thinking about what we're thinking on the inside and not really knowing what they're plotting on the inside or what could be their trigger. I know that maybe I have said some things to him. I'm being honest. I'm just being honest. I wasn't the nice person in this relationship either. I'm not gonna say that I was bad, but I mean, you say something to me, I'm gonna say it back, and that's just being telling the truth. Um, and when you sit up here and act like you just all holier than thou and you just all perfect patty, I'm not gonna say that I was all perfect patty, because when it came down to him disrespecting me, calling me these names, I just returned the favor,
You defended
defended
yourself.
myself.
Right.
Absolutely.
I like that you're not trying to paint this perfect picture
I'm
of
not
you and then paint a picture of him like he's this monster.
monster.
Because
No,
we play a role in everything that goes on in our life, but it doesn't give someone the right to harm us, right?
absolutely.
So you have a right to defend yourself.
Yes.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna take a quick break, you guys, and we'll be right back. Okay, Facebook. I don't believe that I gotta stay sick when God can heal. I don't believe that I gotta stay broke when God can bless.
No, no,
I
no.
don't believe that I gotta stay hurt. My God to will.
Lord, I believe in you.
Lord, I believe in
Lord, I
you.
believe in you.
Lord, I believe in
I
you.
don't believe
I don't
it.
believe
Yeah.
that I gotta stay sick when God can heal.
I don't believe
I don't
it. No, no,
believe
no,
that
no,
I
no,
gotta
no, no,
stay
no.
broke when God can bless.
I don't
I
believe
don't
it. No.
believe that I gotta stay hurt. I got to live.
Lord, I believe in you.
Lord, I believe.
Oh, Lord, I
You.
believe in you.
Lord, I believe.
I'm a believer.
I've been washed in the blood of the
You
Lamb.
forgive me of my sin.
You forgave me all my
And I'll never let you go. Never.
I'll never let go of your hand.
Oh, Lord, I know that I do. Oh, Lord, I believe. Oh, Lord, oh, Lord.
Washed in the blood of the Lamb.
You forgive me of my sin. I know you did. Yeah. And I'll never let you go. No, no.
I'll never let go of your hand.
I don't believe that I can stay sick.
We got can
I don't believe it. No, 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 no.
We got can
I don't believe it. No, 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 no.
I got to
Lord, I believe in you.
Lord, I believe.
Lord, I believe in you.
Lord, I believe.
I don't believe it. No.
That I gotta stay sick. We got can heal. I don't believe that I gotta stay broke. We got can
I don't believe it. Yeah.
that I gotta stay hurt. I got to live.
Lord, I believe in you.
Lord, I believe in you. Lord,
Oh,
I
Lord,
believe in
I'm a believer. Lord, I've been washed
in the blood
of the Lamb. You did it all for me.
of gave
You forgave me all my sins. You looked up
You said it was you never knew how to say it.
This is Warriors Talk, where we move away from awareness towards action. And we're talking about domestic violence. The second half of this show is being sponsored by Emmanuel Church of God in Christ, located at 3058 West Van Buren in Chicago, with Pastor Michael Richardson. And at Emmanuel, we are building upon a solid foundation. So, again, we're talking about domestic violence. And according to statistics, it says 3.3 million estimated number of children in the U.S. have witnessed domestic violence with their mother or female caretaker. 40 to 60% of men who cause abuse also abuse children. And I didn't know that. Like, wow. One in five teenagers are going through domestic violence, either being threatened by their partner that they're going to harm themselves if they break up with them. 40 to 70% of female murdered victims in the U.S. who were killed by their husbands or boyfriends was in an ongoing abusive relationship. So again, we are sitting here talking to author and domestic violence survivor Yolanda Carter. She's sharing her journey with us. She's speaking now. She's being transparent, and she's shedding light on using your voice. Don't be afraid to get out. Know that you're not alone, that you don't have to suffer in silence. So, Yolanda, you talked about earlier about the shame aspect of it, that some women are ashamed to tell people what they're going through. They're ashamed that people are going to judge them. People.
First of all, when you in a relationship with somebody and you take them around your family, your friends, and loved ones, you don't want them to say, "Well, I told you so," and then you end up back with the person. Be like, "Girl, why you with him? You know, you better than that. You shouldn't be with nobody that's doing that to you." So of course, to save face, you won't say anything because that's embarrassing. Oh, I'm with this man. Oh, he's doing all these horrible things to me, but then I end up back with them. So we worry about what the people gonna say. So that's embarrassing, and that's just the shame part of it. And we feel like, why do we continue to go back to a bad situation? And sometimes because we feel like we love that person and we don't want no one else, and we don't want no one else to have them, and we hoping that they will change. And sometimes they will change, and sometimes they won't change. It all depends. But like I said, it's got to be something that has happened to make this person become who they are, at that point in time.
What made you decide I'm not going to be a victim anymore?
Well, I never intended on being a victim, but since it happened, I was basically a victim by default. Okay, the second time around. The first time, I knew that I didn't like it. I felt that I started hating myself. I didn't like the idea of nobody controlling me. You become powerless. When someone takes your power away, you feel like I can't do anything. What am I gonna do if I let somebody just take control over me? And I knew that I didn't like that feeling. So I knew when I grew up, after being a teenage mother, parent, and I didn't want my children. See, that's the thing about when we are in those bad relationships, what are we telling our children? What are we telling our daughters? We telling them that it's okay to stay in these bad relationships, which we need to tell them that it's not okay. Don't never allow no one to hurt you and to make you feel like you have to do something against your will. A lot of times, the young men, not only men, there are women abusers, and it's called learned behaviors. And a lot of times, it's learned what they see, they mimic, and they watched it growing up. They watched their parents go through it. They watched someone go through it, so they react to what they see. And I just wanted young women to know that love does not hurt. Love is not something that you could just take and just throw away. It's very precious. You have to look at yourself, love yourself, because if you can't love yourself, how can you expect someone else to love yourself?
So, how important is self-love
Oh,
in this
self-love.
situation?
Oh my God, self-love is it is so important because if y'all
Mhm.
see me, I look at myself and I may have lost my eye, I may have crushed skull, but I'm still beautiful. You have to speak positive affirmations in your life. You cannot let whatever this define who you are. It's very important to love on yourself. If you can't love you, how could you want me to love you? So that's very important. Self-love is very important.
How can someone regain their power? Because you talked about power. How can you regain your power?
Well, basically, domestic violence is basically about power and control. And when you allow someone to take your power away, how do you regain it? Well, first of all, we have to recognize there is a problem. We have to recognize that it's either we're going to allow the person to do, because can't nobody do something to you that you don't allow. And it's hard to say that, but then it's the truth, because a lot of times people will do to you what you allow them to do. So if you allowing a person to take your power away, they're going to continue to do it. So we have to take it back and let them know, look, I'm not getting ready to allow you to do this no more. I can't continue to have my face bashed in. I can't allow you to do all these bad things that you're doing to me. I have to walk away. I have to leave if that's necessary. But you also have to be careful when you are leaving a bad situation, because it don't always end good. So you have to create a safety plan. You have to be able to trust only one person that you can tell that what you're going through. You can't tell everybody what you're going through. You have to make sure that you have a 1-800 number. You have to have somebody that you can say, you know what, a code. I need to let
Yes.
you know this code. If I call you with this code, you know what it is. You get me some help. So it's important for us to be already ready. Sometimes you can't just say, I'm packing up the house. You got to sometimes just get up and go.
Let's
Let's
go.
go. That's it. And that's all. You got to just go sometimes.
You said something really important. Don't tell everybody, because
You
if
can't
they're
tell
close to
everybody.
him, then they're gonna tell him what your move
Even your
is.
mother.
Yes, so
Even your
you are
mother.
exactly right. You gotta have somebody that you know that's not gonna say, "Hey, this is where she is," or "She's planning on leaving," because that could mean your life.
Yes, and then they also will threaten you. Not only you, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill your family member, people that's close to you. Just because if they can get to you, they're gonna get to the people that you love. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very safe. That's the key. Safety is the key. Don't just say, "Well, don't never tell your abuser that you're gonna leave them." First of all, that's a no-no. Don't never say, "Oh, I'm mad at you. So what? I'm leaving you anyway." Oh, baby, you done just open up a can of worms right there. That's not a good thing. Don't never tell a person, your abuser, whomever that you're with, never tell them that you're leaving them, because that is very dangerous. So it is not a good thing when you do that.
Mm. So you just gave them some real key information. If you're planning on leaving, she's talked about getting a code word with somebody that you trust,
Mhm.
and never mentioned that you're leaving, because that may send that person off the deep
Oh
end, and you may
yes,
not make it out of the situation that night.
not
So
at
it's
all.
important to think of safety first.
Yes, it's
How important is forgiveness in this situation? Forgiveness for yourself, forgiveness for the other
Ooh,
person.
very. Oh my God, forgiveness. I can remember now. I cried, I cried, I cried. And I was in church one day, and the sermon was actually about forgiveness after my incident that happened, which I'm going to get into in a few minutes. But I remember I'm just crying before the Lord, and I'm like, Lord, how could I forgive this person that tried to kill me? And I remember a light switch came on. I had to forgive this person, because if I did not forgive him, I would be holding so much malice and so much hate and anger inside of me. I wouldn't be able to, move forward. But I'm glad I forgave, and forgiveness is the key. Please forgive. forgive. Because how can we ask God for forgiveness if we can't forgive man?
That's true.
So that is very important.
Set yourself free.
Yes, set yourself free.
Set yourself free. So we know that in the African American community that, seeking professional help can be taboo.
Yes.
So how important is it to get that help?
It is so important to get the help. And a lot of times I know people's like, I don't need no therapist. I don't need that's for crazy people, or I don't need nobody knowing my business. But you have to know that seeing a therapist, because a lot of times we can't rationalize those thoughts ourselves, our thought process. They are there to help you to get where you need to go. Because I'm telling you, I'm still in therapy, and I am so glad that I'm there, because a lot of times we meet people, especially if you in a group environment in the beginning, in the group environment, a lot of the women that has gone through what you are just starting to go through, they can help you to get where you need to be. They can tell you, share your stories, and it builds you up to get stronger, so you can be able to want to share your story. Because a lot of people, they go through this, they suffer in silence, they alone, they don't want to say anything, they don't want to talk about it. They feel like, okay, I don't want nobody to know my business. But no, that's not your business. It's everybody's business when it comes down to this kind of stuff. Let's get all up in your business, because that is so important. It's not your business anymore when somebody's abusing you and you may be not here anymore. So let's start getting in the business. So if you know somebody that's going through that, you talk about it, and let them know that no matter what it is, I'm a listening ear. But don't never leave them, because a friend is there through thick and thin, through the end, no matter what they know you're going through. And a lot of times people tell me, girl, I'm so tired of such and such because she keep going back to him. But I said, no matter what she goes through, she just still be there for her. Don't never leave nobody when they going through it. Eventually they will walk away eventually. And pray to God that they don't that they get, they be getting out of it safe, and they don't be killed or anything to that nature. So it's very important to, you know very, very important
To be a listening ear
to
for
be a
them.
listening ear, because that's all a lot of people want you to do is listen. Sometimes you don't even have to give your input. Sometimes they just want to listen. Want you to just listen, and then by you listening, they'll start rationalizing. Well, you know what? They start looking at the pros and the cons. Okay, he is doing this, and maybe So we'll look at it like, okay, he's abusing me, but he's this. Just like I was doing. Okay, yeah, he threw my phone down the alley, but he's not hurting me. He threw alcohol on my clothes, but he got me, he put my clothes in the cleaners, and he bought me got my hair done again. So we rationalize all the bad behaviors. We make it, we dress it up and make it sound pretty, but it's not. It's still abuse no matter what, and it's still not right, because no one deserves to be abused in any shape, form, or fashion in any type of way. Even if he never put his hands on you, it's still abuse. I mean, even if you come close to it, it's still abuse. So we look at it, oh, it's not physical, because like myself, and I'm guilty of it. I didn't think I was in a bad relationship because it was not physical. But let me tell you guys, domestic violence does not start off physical, and we need to know that. So,
According to statistics, it says that it takes a woman 7 times
times.
before she actually leaves for good. And it's not like 7 times in a row. It may be years in between that time until she really gets up enough nerve to say, "This is it. I'm out of here."
Yes, it takes a long time, and some women just may not ever. They can go through years and years. I've heard stories of women 30+ years been in an abusive relationship, and it became the norm. Sometimes your normal may not be my normal. My normal may not be no your normal. So a lot of times we normalize so many situations where we think that this is just a part of life. So like I didn't think that when my incident, which is we can go into the incident, March 22nd, 2016. I was fighting for my life. And like I said, that Prince Charming, that knight in shining armor that loved me that I thought I loved. Well, I knew I loved him, but I thought he loved me the way that he could never put any harm to me, brutally beat me with a hammer and left me to die in my very own bed. And if it was not for my son, I would not be here today. And I start every time I think about it because I remember I failed my son. And this is so emotional for me because I remember a couple of days prior to it, one of my girlfriends called me and said, Yolanda, I had a dream. The Holy Spirit told me that that man is going to do something to you. And I'm like, girl, no, that man love me. He ain't going to do nothing to me. And she was like, girl, I'm telling you, the Holy Spirit told me, be careful. And I'm like, okay, girl, this man love me. He ain't going to do nothing to me. And then my son, these were like the couple of days that we was walking around not talking to each other. I remember he locked me out of my room. And these are kind of doors that you don't have to have no key in, but you could stick like a little knife in it and open it up. So he was like, locked me out. And my baby was like, Mama, you need to put him out. And I was like, oh, he ain't gonna do nothing to me. I ain't worried about him. I ain't thinking about him. And, I felt like I failed my son because he told me to leave him. He told me, Mama, leave him. And I was like, I just didn't think that this man was even capable of doing such a heinous act, leaving me in my bed after crushing my skull, broke every bone in my left side of my face, which my eye had to be removed. Had to put braces on my teeth to build the bones back so I can smile again. I have gashes in the back of my head. I just had my 12th reconstructive surgery, which was January 14th. To God be the glory. God spared my life through each and every surgery. I was able to be my own donor. But people don't realize these physical scars can go away, but the mental, emotional scars will last you forever. But I just knew that I wanted the world to hear my story. I didn't want my story to go unheard. So my story was featured on a couple of radio TV stations, the news. And also going to court was very hard because I didn't want to go to court. I had to have an advocate the last couple of times because it was just so hard to listen, to see somebody that tried to kill you and to look at you and you don't know, you helpless, you don't know what to do. I'll be strong. It was times when I was like, oh, I'm okay. I'm every day. I'm not, you lose so much, but I gained so much more. Yes, I must have lost, I lost my job, finances, everything that come with it. But I didn't lose my spirit, my dignity. I didn't lose who I was. I didn't allow this thing define who I was. I wanted to be someone to help someone else that is going through it, to let them know don't give up because giving up was not an option for me. I love people and I want to help you all. If you are going through domestic violence, please seek help in silence, in safe, because you don't have to tell no one what you're going through. Just trust one person. In secrecy, it is confidentiality. And just know that everybody needs somebody. And you cannot just think that you can do it on your own because you can't. You can't do it alone. You always need somebody. Because I be needing you guys. Y'all just don't know. There be days when I wake up in the morning and it's not easy, but I try to push. I push. Because first of all, I didn't want nobody to see that I wasn't strong, but I'm human. And I feel like I earned the fact that if I don't have good days, I've been through so much. Somebody taking a hammer, beating your skull, where your brain's in the bed with you. That was not a good thing.
but I am here today. I am alive, and I want you to seek help if you are in it, please. And we need to find some way to reach out because domestic violence month is coming up as well as the breast cancer month next month, October. And we need people to know. Please share with other people, let them know that domestic violence month is in October because everything we can't never find anything for purple. Everything is pink. And not saying that uh we don't recognize it, breast cancer, but because we do, but it's just that people don't recognize that there is a domestic violence month because of breast cancer overshadows it, and they both are very important, and we need to come together. Please, people, there are some events that's coming up. I post on my page. Please support these events. I mean, I know they can be, it's a few little, dollars here. I don't always have money either. And, I'm just blessed to, have a few dollars here, a few dollars there, people blessing me and stuff like that. But I mean, God is, He never left me nor forsaken me. He still allowed me to keep going. Prayer changes things. Trust and believe. Prayer changes things. And I had to lose so much. I don't even have a car, but I still, God allowed me to get where I need to go. But I'm here and I thank you, Michelle, for allowing me to be on her talk show, Warriors Talk, because these are topics that we really need to talk about. We need to have these conversations, not only for our adults, but for our young people. These young people need to hear it because they think that they don't really know how serious domestic violence is. It's not a game. This stuff is happening to real life people. Real life people. It happens. And I'd have never thought that this could happen to me. I was defenseless. I was in my bed asleep. I didn't see it coming. I couldn't even defend myself. But I thank God that God spared my life. I am here. He shielded me. He watched over me while I went through it, and He brought me through it. I have my right mind. There was no brain damage. I could still talk. I am just blessed. And I thank God for all the followers, all the supporters, everyone up under the sound of my voice. Thank you all for just allowing me to speak my truth.
And you know what? God can do the same for you guys. He can do the same for you as well. We thank you for tuning in and for listening to her story. Please go to www.oneeyewitness.com and get that book. You guys, please tune in every week at 6 p.m. Warriors Talk is changing lives one warrior at a time. Thank you guys. See you later. That was